JaxGuruji Sangat. Today I'll be reading a satsang of Jyoti Gupta from the book Light of Divinity. By the Guru's word, I was suffering from an unknown disease that could not be treated. All the major hospitals, Indraprastha, Apollo, Max Noida, AIMS, Delhi, carried out long and expensive investigations to no avail. I started coming to Guruji regularly. One day, Guruji commanded me to do seva at Bade Mandir. I did so. When 4 or 5 days later I went to the doctor, the disease was diagnosed. It was a serious blood infection, and the doctors warned me that the treatment was long and painful, that his devotee undergo such suffering was unacceptable to Guruji. I was admitted to a hospital and my treatment began. But just after 4 days, the doctors discharged me and put me on medicines. Now I am fit and fine. Such blessings are not unusual. Whenever Guruji commands us to do something, we must obey and not look for logic in what he says. Whatever he says is his command, a blessing and solely aimed at benefiting the devotee. It is not riches or gifts or fawning actions and words that please Guruji. He is pleased only with true love, a love that makes no demand, puts no conditions, and accepts the Guru's word. And he reciprocates this love. Whenever you need him, he is with you, anytime, anywhere in the world. Just remember him lovingly. Jai Guruji.
Jai Guruji. I'm now going to read a series of satsangs by Jyoti Verma. Disentangling the knotted rope of karma. After both her in-laws were found to be suffering from blood cancer, Jyoti Verma and her husband disposed of their factory and petrol pump and shifted from Dehradun to Delhi. As compared to Dehradun, living in Delhi was expensive. The Vermas had 2 children and their ailing parents to look after. They felt they would never lead a happy and comfortable life here. It seemed to them, bound by their karma, they were walking aimlessly in a dark, endless cave. The rope of their karma had coiled around them. Both planned to shift to a smaller city, so they could once again start life afresh. In fact, the family had not even unpacked its bags since coming from Dehradun. Then, through a friend whose daughter's wedding they had attended, the Vermas came to Guruji and had his darshan. The next day they went to the mandir at Empire State, where they sat for hours and sought his blessings. So acute were their financial worries that when they were going to Guruji, Jyoti told her husband that it was not a piece of cake to spend petrol worth 500 rupees daily to come to Guruji. The Vermas used to come from Ghaziabad, quite a distance from Empire Estate. The Sangat used to be held on all 7 days, and they felt as if they were pulled to him daily. They found to their surprise that things started setting right by themselves. The tangled rope of their lives was disentangling itself under his presence. Soon the Vermas started importing a ready-to-use liquid intravenous immunoglobulin made from human plasma by Baxter Healthcare, a private company. And their company, which never sold more than 6,000 to 10,000 vitals per year, is today unable to meet the demand. The Vermas' financial worries were over. Even the money that was due to them came in. The Vermas realized the impact of Guruji's blessings before they had a chance to voice their problems to Guruji. They had spent most of the time going to Guruji arguing over whether they should tell him about their problems or not. But Guruji had solved their conundrum without them ever hearing to say a single word to him. In the meantime, their father-in-law's condition also improved remarkably. At one point in time, he was declared dead during a chemotherapy session. But he had a photo of GuruJi in his pocket all the time and not only got a new life, but was also cured of the disease. He never had a treatment for cancer again. In his unique way, GuruJi also saved the life of Jyoti's husband. Once he called her husband out when it was the Sangat's leave-taking time, but did not say anything. He gave his permission only after some 5 minutes. No one realized why he had acted this way, but the Vermas soon saw what would have befallen them had they left earlier. On the way home, they saw the wreckage of an accident that had occurred only minutes ago. They felt that had GuruJi not forestalled their departure, they could have met with the same fate. GuruJi's grace extended to Jyoti's relatives. Her husband had a severe backache due to a slipped disc and was bedridden. GuruJi did not even ask about him for 1.5 months. Then one day, GuruJi advised him to have hot milk with turmeric before going to bed. He was cured. Jyoti's brother-in-law, a senior official in Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, posted in Lucknow, had a different problem. He was often at odds with his boss, who was hindering his promotion. He decided to resign from his job, but with GuruJi's blessing, he was promoted and transferred to Hyderabad. He had himself said that his interview at Chennai that his promotion was not possible. He is happy and is looking after major divisions under GuruJi's protection. GuruJi also protects devotees from negative circumstances. At the Verma's factory site, a huge water tank, some 18 to 20 feet deep, was being built, and about 20 to 25 laborers were working there. A boulder fell into the tank, and the workers, fearing danger, were prompted to come out. The next moment, just as the last laborer had come out, the huge wall, 18 feet high and 60 feet wide, fell down. No one was hurt. Even an infant was unharmed. What else could this be but GuruJi's grace? Another instance, Jyoti's sister had been married 7 years ago and was suffering severe stomachache. She had been treated and even operated on without any result. Her parents had even gone to pundits and tantrics who did all sorts of tantra mantra, which went in vain. Jyoti told GuruJi about her sister's problem, and he blessed her with a copper tumbler. Soon, she was absolutely well. Finding a lost son. Jyoti's maid lost her 11-year-old son, who was unfamiliar with Delhi, having come from his village a month ago. All her efforts to find him were in vain, and she did not even have his photograph. The distraught mother pleaded to Jyoti for help. Jyoti prayed to GuruJi, asking him to help the poor troubled woman who needed him the most. The same evening, she got her son back. She said it seemed as if someone had come and left him there in front of her, watching over the teenage son. GuruJi instructed Jyoti's son to go and live in a hostel. It was his first time out of home for a long time, and he used to get quite depressed. One day, all his friends left him in the hostel and went out to spend their evenings with their girlfriend. He cribbed to himself that he could also have a girlfriend, as it led to no harm and was just a way to while away the time. He fell asleep with these thoughts, but to his utter surprise, GuruJi came in his dream and scolded him. He woke up at 2 p.m., shivering, drenched with sweat. He prayed to GuruJi, and only then he could get sound sleep. Jyoti was told of this incident, and she felt reassured. She knew GuruJi was taking care of everything. Jyoti says once people are under GuruJi's sharan, they have nothing to think of. They just have to stop using their mind and surrender themselves, forgetting all ifs and buts. We come to him as chronic patients, says Jyoti, with lots of problems and negativity that he removes with his blessings. GuruJi's treatment is beyond our understanding. His blessings are always in disguise, but our human nature is not satisfied till we speak of our problems. We shouldn't ask for instant results when we have come to him as the last resort. The faith and surrender devotees put in connects them to him and leads them to a brighter future. As the saying goes, Jitna gur daloge, utna hi मीठा पाल पाओगे.
मीठा फल.
As the amount of sweet put in, so the sweetness of the fruit. The aura around the devotees turns so positive that no one can ever harm him. JaxGuruji.
Jai Guruji. I would now be reading a series of satsang by Jyotsna Shori. Saving my husband's life. I consider myself extremely fortunate and honored to have met Guruji around the year 2000. Since then, he has in every way blessed and kept my entire family under his guiding benevolence. My husband Deepak met Guruji when he had gone with his brother Arun on a day not appointed for the Sangat. Arun had a pressing problem as the daughter of one of his domestic staff had met with a serious accident in the village, and doctors had recommended amputation. Guruji was at home, and they were fortunate to have his darshan. By his grace, her foot was saved. While they were there, Guruji asked my husband to bring me to see him. I was at first disinclined, for though I am a religious-minded person, I did not believe in mortal gods. Later, reflecting on how greatly he had helped my sister-in-law Anita with her debilitating Parkinson's disease, I felt it would be disrespectful of me not to go. The instant Guruji saw me, he said, "Kailash Khanna di kuri," Kailash Khanna's daughter, and I was shocked, for there was no way he could have known my late father's name. He gave me a photo of his and asked me to keep coming to the Sangat. I placed his photo on my puja table at night and was surprised to see the next morning that it had fallen. Also, the sindoor which I kept in a small round container had dropped onto the table in a neat round heap, though the container was upright. No one could have entered the puja room at night, and I was confused. With hindsight, I now know that was Guruji's way of telling me he had come to my house that night. How I got my knitting needles. I particularly remember an incident when Guruji saved us from a great deal of anguish. Our younger son Vinayak was to get married. On the morning of his Sangeet, family had arrived from different parts of the country and abroad. Suddenly, I heard my husband's fearful voice. He was asking me to come immediately as his ailing mother had collapsed. I ran first to Guruji's photograph and prayed to him to keep her safe. Then I entered my mother-in-law's room. Miraculously, she turned and sat up. Her recovery was so complete that she was able to participate in the wedding that she had been looking forward to. Another time that Guruji blessed our family, for which we are eternally grateful, was when he facilitated the birth of our twin grandsons. My elder son Rajnath and his wife Moira had been married for 5 years. We were anxious to be grandparents, but they were taking their time. Since both worked in the US, where there is no family support, and had little spare time, I hoped they would not put off having children altogether. One day, we asked Guruji when they would have children. He looked at their photos for a long time and told me to bring them for his blessings. Fortunately, this happened soon, as they were coming for Vinayak's wedding. As part of the wedding ceremonies, we had a small havan at home. Moira told me she would not be able to participate as she was having her periods. After the wedding, they returned to the US, and barely had a few days passed when, all excited, she rang up and told me to take out my knitting needles. I was going to be a grandmother. I was pleasantly shocked. As just 10 days earlier I had known it was not possible, I came to thank Guruji profusely, and he told me that he had blessed her with twins. After her ultrasound, Moira was able to confirm this news to me as well. Blessing my husband. My husband Deepak had an injury in his foot, and it had got to the point of turning gangrenous. He had to be hospitalized. With treatment, it got better, and he came home with a dressing around his ankles. The next morning, the bed sheets and blankets were covered with fresh blood. Yet the dressing had completely clean and dry. Yet the dressing was completely clean and dry. The doctor also examined him to see if there could have been bleeding from elsewhere and was intrigued. No one could explain what had happened, but we knew it was Guruji who had eliminated whatever infected blood remained in my husband's foot. Guruji has even given my husband a new lease of life with a new heart. 2 of Deepak's arteries had over 90% blockage. Guruji had foreseen this and had asked me to come for darshan on a particular day. I happened to be preoccupied that evening and decided to go the next day instead. But before I could meet Guruji, Deepak was rushed to Escorts Hospital with severe pain and underwent emergency surgery. He had angioplasty and had 3 stents put inside his arteries. As my son, daughter-in-law, and I waited in the hospital lobby, we could smell Guruji's fragrance. As Deepak came out of surgery, he too smelled Guruji's fragrance. But though I was beside him, I did not. Perhaps Guruji was reprimanding me for not coming to the Sangat on the appointed day. If I had, Deepak would have been saved from this trauma. I thanked Guruji and promised him I would never make this mistake again. These are just some of the incidences where Guruji has touched our lives. Yet, there have been innumerable ones. I pray to him daily to guide and bless our family and to keep us from harm. I am completely indebted to him and am confident that he hears my prayers. I have on occasion asked him that he does so much for so many people. What does he expect in return? He smiles and says, their complete devotion. Jai Guruji, Shukrana Guruji.